has a heavy disease burden with an average life expectancy of 56 years. The main challenge arises from communicable diseases that accounts for about 10% of deaths. Despite efforts to control communicable diseases, health status has stagnated due partly to the increase of non-communicable diseases, causing 28% of all deaths in 2010, diabetes accounting for 2% of this. The World Health Organization estimates that the prevalence of diabetes in Kenya is set to rise by 2025. Unfortunately today, 2/3 of diabetic cases are undiagnosed or inadequate patient follow-ups take place, making prevention and control of diabetes hard. There are types of diabetes caused by a myriad of issues including genetics. According to Anthony Osinda, a nutritionist from Top Hill Hospital,
diabetes is divided into two. We have diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. Diabetes mellitus, it is susceptible or it is more prone to those who are having excessive weight. And diabetes insipidus, it attacks those who are having lean body. When I mean lean, are those people who they don't have fat contents in their body. Those are the ones that are exposed to type 2. Normally, it is also known as type 2 diabetes. For diabetes mellitus, it affects those who are having something like genetic or they are inherit. You realize that in one of the family member can expose to diabetes or they live with diabetes. When you look in their lineage, for example, like a family where they have a grandparents, they have relatives, you realize that one of the family member is exposed to diabetes. And that shows that it means that even for the generation that is coming, there is high possibility for you to be exposed in diabetes. The sugar levels between 3.9 to 6.9, that is the figure whereby the sugar levels need to range. For those ones who have diabetes mellitus, you realize that the level of sugar surpasses the margin. It becomes over 8. At times you realize it can, in our lab when they take measurements, you realize that it surpasses. Sometimes you get 14, sometimes you get 16, sometimes you get 20. And it is a life-threatening and it is dangerous for those who are having diabetes mellitus. For those with diabetes insipidus, you realize that it goes low below that figure. And there are some signs that you can realize that I'm exposed to diabetes. There are some signs where you realize at night, when you are sleeping, you might realize that you sweat, excessive sweats at night. That is one sign. The second sign, you realize that it affects our eyes, sight. You can have a blur vision. The third one, you might realize that at times when you are hungry, you start shivering, you start trembling. Those are signs for diabetes. And it means that when you start observing those observations, it is high time for you to visit a clinic whereby they can take your blood sugar to monitor what is the cause or how they can assist you.
According to Kenya's Vision 2030, the Kenyan government is keen on improving the health sector through provision of equitable, affordable, and quality health care to all its citizens. With that in mind, diabetes is managed on 3 primary units of care: at the district level, county hospitals, and referral hospitals, as well as private hospitals. The goal of treating diabetes is to ensure the body has healthy blood glucose levels through managing of cholesterol levels and high blood pressure to prevent the progression of diabetic-related complications. Diabetes is preventable and reversible through stringent management practices that involve lifestyle change and medication, as Anthony explains.
There are several methods that you can use to manage diabetes. One, you can use your diet, whereby you meet a nutritionist and you have a dialogue. And at times, you can use a medical, whereby a clinician under observation is whereby he can tell you, or he or she can advise you to start medication. But before you start medication, it is high time for you to start using the diet. In diet, we normally call it a meal plan. A nutritionist is there to assist you on how to go through. In management, we have some special diets that are therapeutic, or we can use the local ones. For those ones who stayed in a village area, we normally have a small garden in our environment or in our compound. We considered it as a kitchen garden. That kitchen garden assists, it's like a food security that can assist those who are based in areas where they can do some small farming. In management, we normally advise our patients to take high fiber diets and to reduce sugars. In high fiber diets, you realize that we can get those high fiber diets in vegetables, and some we consider like cereals and pulses. For a diabetic, you have to consider the carbohydrates, because you realize that the end product of carbohydrates is sugar. And which carbohydrates are you considered to take most? We consider them to take local cereals. That is millets, in Kiswahili ni mtama. And also we advise them to take brown, things that are brown that are having fiber content, like wheat. You can see that wheat, it has a outer cover. Mostly the outer cover is known as the husk. And the husk, or the bran, it is the best for the diabetic patient, because it prevents absorption of excessive carbohydrates. So we advise most of our patients who are prone to diabetes, after going through nutrition and it has failed, maybe due to lifestyle, and when a clinician cuts in and give a recommendation for you to start drugs, it means that you fail on diet, and that is where a clinician takes in that he can prescribe for you the best diet that you can take. As I mentioned earlier, nutrition-wise, we consider high fiber diets, and you can get the high fiber diets mostly they're in vegetables and cereals and pulses. Cereals and pulses are very wide. You can get in form of green grams, those are ndengu. You can get in form of wheat, that is ngano. You can get in form of this one, lentils. Those are the best for diabetic. In our meal plan, we divide into 3 or 4 meals. And also we consider the portioning, because when we fail to consider the portion, you realize that it will increase metabolic in the body, and whenever the metabolic has been increased, it means that the outcome, it will cause to rise in the sugar levels. Dietary management. We can give you a dietary management after accessing your meal feeding pattern. We have 24-hour meal plan or food frequency, and we have food frequency. Food frequency, it means that how often have you been feeding? Maybe it can be 1 week, it can be a 1 month meal pattern, but we consider a 24 hours meal pattern, whereby we have a conversation with you. We ask you what have you been feeding, so that we can prepare for you a meal pattern that it will assist you, even if you are diabetic, on when and why are you supposed to feed.
Figuring out the best foods to eat when you have diabetes doesn't have to be tough as people often think. To keep things simple, a diabetic's main goal should be managing their blood sugar levels by eating foods that help prevent diabetic complications like heart disease and kidney failure. Since one's diet has a major role in preventing and managing diabetes, Anthony elaborates the kind of foods diabetic patients must have on their plates and portion control.
First, you will have to base on the results that we receive. When the sugar levels are high over the normal, that is between 4.4 to 7, it means that we'll have to monitor your portioning. In form of portioning, we are going to use maybe your plate, and your plate, we are going to divide it into different portions. First, we'll consider the proteins, we'll consider the carbohydrates, we'll consider the vitamins. You'll realize that in portioning, we'll advise our patients to increase the vegetable contents. Why do we have to increase the levels of vegetables? Because we realize that vegetables normally have something known as fiber. And when I mention vegetables, we have different types of vegetables. The normal vegetables that we access are sukuma wiki, spinach, we have saga, we have managu, we have kunde. Those are the vegetables. And you realize that in this area that we are living in, we are advising most of our patients to use the traditional vegetables. Those are the ones that have been mentioned. Why? Because you realize that after ingesting the vegetable, it takes time for it to digest. And also the vegetables, it has no content of carbohydrates, the fiber contents. The fiber contents are good for each and every one. Why? Because the vegetables are good for digestion, and also it enhances the digestion, whereby you'll avoid yourself to have something like a crampy stomach or constipations. Also, as I mentioned earlier about portioning, the level of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, the importance of carbohydrates is to enable us to have energy. Because we have different types of work that we are exposed on our daily basis. You realize that there are those ones who are highly active and those who are sedentary. Sedentary are those ones who are having most of their duties in an enclosed environment like offices. And also we have different people who are engaging in different activity like masonry, whereby they need a lot of energy. But basing in a situation that you are a diabetic, we have to consider which type or the amount that you are going to take. For a diabetic patient, we normally encourage them to use high fiber in form of carbohydrates. And the high fiber, it has been divided. Normally, we use brown ugali. The brown ugali is the one, it's different from the sifted, the one that we use from our markets. The brown ugali, we can get it in our marketing areas. Those are stores and cereals, whereby you can use millet. Millet is one and is the best. And we consider millet because millet, it has low sugar content in it, and it has good fiber. At times, we advise our patient to go further by mixing a portion of millet and maize, in that for them to adapt on the diet. But it is highly advisable for them to consume high fiber diet. High fiber diet, we have that like brown bread. But there is a challenge. Brown bread, we normally have brown bread, but we have wholemeal brown bread. So for our patient, we advise them to take brown bread, which is wholemeal. When I mention about the wholemeal, you realize when you look on the slice of the bread, you can get something known as a bran. That bran, it is the content, the outer part of the wheat that is good for your health, that prevent the excessive absorption of carbohydrates. Also, we normally advise our patient to use brown rice. Why brown rice? Because you realize that brown rice, the way it is on its nature, it has low level of carbohydrate content in it. Whenever you ingest it, after digestion, it has some content that prevent excessive absorption of carbohydrates. And when I mention about absorption, we have two types of carbohydrates, which are simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are the ones like rice, that is white rice. Those are other like Irish potatoes, sweet potatoes. You realize that whenever you ingested it, it takes a shorter time for it to be absorbed into our bloodstream. But when I mention about the complex are those ones that it takes time. It takes time for it to be absorbed in the body. Like banana. When you take a ripe banana, it is like in form of simple. You realize that whenever you take a banana, after something about 7 minutes or 30 minutes, you realize that it has been absorbed in the body, direct to the bloodstream, and it increases the level of blood. But whenever you take cooked bananas, it is in form of complex carbohydrates, whereby it takes time for it to be absorbed in the body. And in the process of absorption, it reduces the blood sugar in your body.
Studies suggest that diabetes type 2 is commonly linked with overweight or obesity. Because of this, the first step of diabetic diagnosis is to check a patient's body mass index.
You expect us to take your weight and height. When you take your weight and height, it gives us a basis, because from your weight and height, we get your BMI. BMI, it is body mass index. From your body mass index, it is divided, whereby we have underweight, and there are some figures. It has been divided underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. Obese also has been divided: obese class 1, obese class 2, obese class 3. And when it comes to obese class 3, it means that your level of cholesterol in the body is very high. And when the level of cholesterol is high, it shows that your body is susceptible to other complications like cardio, that is heart, and also it will affect your kidney for ultrafiltration in the kidney. For those who are visiting, they will be their weight and height will be recorded. For you to be safe, your weight needs to range between a BMI of 18.5 to 25. That is the normal BMI. But whenever your BMI goes beyond 25, that is overweight. Between 25 to 30, that is overweight. It shows that there is a problem with your feeding habit, or also there are some other complications in your body. For the BMI divided between 30 plus, it shows that you need to do some activity. And we are not going to base on weight only, we are going further to take your blood sugars. And when you realize that your blood sugars are beyond 7, then it shows that you are exposed to diabetes.
Diabetes management heavily relies on dietary management because food and nutrition have a direct impact on an individual's blood sugar levels. Having a diabetic dietitian is therefore paramount because they will help you improve your knowledge and confidence in managing your diabetes.
When the test has been done, then it will give us like a nutritionist to get in by giving you the right procedure for management of your weight, whereby we encourage you to do physical activities. Physical activities have been divided. You can do the intense or you can do the minimal, like brisk walking. At times we encourage our patients to do brisk walking. Brisk walking is the one that you can do it in the morning. You can walk like about 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. That is good for you. And also, we also advise you to do the intense one, that is running. You can run, you can choose your time at your convenience. You can initiate by running, whereby running is another process of reducing weight, whereby you realize that at the end of running you will sweat, and whenever there is excess fats in your body, that is cholesterol, it will be broken down. That it will assist you to prevent the lifestyle diseases that we're exposing. And also, a clinician will check your blood sugar and will advise you to go for a while, then after 2 weeks you come back again to recheck. And whenever that they realize that your blood sugar still are high, then you will be advised to be initiated on drugs for management of diabetes.
To prevent complications in people living with diabetes and ultimate death, it is highly recommended you check in for a few visits to review your diet and potentially make a few changes that can improve the quality of your life.
Diabetes is a silent killing disease, and when you fail to take measures that can help you to survive, you might end up losing your life, and that is mortality. In this current era that we are in, when you sample out in a figure of 10, a number of 10, you realize that 3 out of 10 are exposed to diabetes. And what can you do? For those who are out there, those who are at home, it is good for you to visit any clinic that is next to you. Don't visit any clinic because you are sick. Make a habit for you to visit a clinic for checkups. We have different checkups, health and wealth, because they normally say your health is your wealth. It is good for you to visit any clinic to access or also to monitor. You can visit a clinic to take your weight, take your height, take your blood sugar, take even for your cardio, for your heart, monitor the heart. Also, you can visit a physician or a physiotherapy also to access your muscles or any other. Our facilities, other facilities, they normally have some machines whereby they can take your sample to go and test, they monitor, and that is the best thing that you can do. For those who are not diabetic, visit a clinic, visit a hospital, share with them, tell them how you feel, tell them how you feed. Visit a nutritionist, share with him what is the best diet for you to be safe and at least to save your life.
Whether you have diabetes or not, are at risk of diabetes or not, it is important to go for annual checkups to make sure your health is on track and make modifications based on your current lifestyle. Remember, staying healthy isn't easy, but it's worth it.